Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Yep.
Okay, why don't you give us your good?
So I have the Minnesota Vikings. The only reason I didn't have them as great is they just haven't been as impressive as the Saints. But I don't think anyone. I think Chris said they'd start 0-12. So a little off on that. But I didn't even think they would look like this solid. And I figured they're going to be a pretty good team. I like their coach a lot. They have a good, solid defense. Now that they have Jones. As well as Jefferson, the best receiver in the league. I mean, it's like they're going to be, a decent team. I was thinking probably 8-9 win team, but I wasn't expecting them to come out and just totally, boat race the 49ers for the most part. I mean, I know the score didn't look that, it looked like it was a close game, but if you watch the game, I mean, they really controlled that entire game. It's just kind of interesting because I believe that's 2 straight years that the Vikings did that to the Niners, and it just seems their defense kind of has Shanahan figured out a little bit because they haven't been able to score on the Vikings the last 2 years. So I just had to say good for them that, no one was picking them to be real competitive in this division. But right now they look pretty solid.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to shout out here, Clint. He was big on the Sam Darnold resurgence during our preview podcast. Kind of so far nailed that. Justin Jefferson had himself a big game, but I do want to just go back to what you said, the defense, 6 sacks on defense. Brian Flores, that was the one side of the ball that I was confident with the Vikings. I thought their defense was going to be good. I am a little surprised that Sam Darnold is looking as good as he is right now. We'll see if that regresses, as the season wears on, because there was a time when he looked good in Carolina for a week or two. So we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm with you. The Vikings deserve a good, and beating the Niners, who most of us agree is one of the top teams in the NFC, and starting the season off 2-0. I think that's a pretty good thing for the Vikings because now they're leading the NFC North right now.
Yeah. And I wasn't on your season preview, but if I were on there, I know you talked about the Vikings a little bit. And when Clint was talking about Darnold and what he was expecting of him, like this doesn't shock me, but if I were to just try to play like prediction, what I could see happening is as you get later in the year, and people start, game planning better now that these first 2 preseason quote unquote games are over. I could see Jefferson getting really upset and loses patience when he gets missed several times downfield because that's what's going to happen. They're going to end up doubling him, and Darnold's going to miss some throws, and that's what I kind of think is going to happen. Is you're going to have Jefferson start getting upset and angry that he's not getting the ball or he's being missed or the passes aren't good, and I think it's kind of going to implode like that way a little bit. But I could be wrong, but I don't know. Like you said, with no one playing in preseason, if you go back the past like 5 years, there's always a team or two every year like this where they look like really good at the beginning of the year, and you're like, wow, where'd this come from? And then all of a sudden they totally just fall off.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that's going to be the Vikings, but it's like it's really hard to know what's reality at this point in the season.
Yeah, agreed with that. Agree with that. And speaking of not knowing what reality is, I'm going to give you 2 good because I couldn't pick between the 2, but I think both are kind of like upsets. So the Raiders, I want to give a good, beating Baltimore. They were down 10, I believe, in the 4th quarter, came back, won that game. Minshew played good enough. Adams had 9 receptions for 110 yards. I don't know, like I almost put this in the bad for Baltimore, but I wanted to acknowledge after kind of like everybody questioning the Raiders after week 1 with the decision not to go for it on 4th and 1, punting the ball away, and then like it just kind of snowball effect against the Chargers. They only scored 10 points. They go in Baltimore on the road, and they showed a mental toughness that I felt like that we're not used to seeing from Las Vegas Raiders. And they were able to beat the Ravens, who are now 0-2, one of the Super Bowl favorites in the AFC conference. So I wanted to give them a good for their big upset game against the Ravens.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I do have to say, like you said, I don't think they're It reminds me a lot of the Lions where they took on the personality of their head coach and Pierce. I don't think Pierce is like, I wouldn't put him as the top tier at all of coaches, but I just think he has that like toughness, mentally and physically tough that has rubbed off on the team a little bit, or I don't think they're going to totally flake out at the end of the games like they always used to do.
Yeah. Agreed. And that's what I was worried about after week 1, the way they handled the Chargers game. Into week 2, it just seemed like they handled that situation better, and it reflected Antonio Pierce better. And then the other good I have, and I do this begrudgingly, I'm going to give it to the Green Bay Packers, somehow winning a game with Malik Willis, who I think up until that point hasn't passed for over 150 yards and still hasn't in an NFL game. Somehow, they were at home, but a lot of people, including myself, thought that the Colts would win because Malik Willis was the quarterback. But for some reason, the Colts were like, we dare you to run the ball. And that's exactly what the Packers did. Jacobs had a huge game, 32 carries for 151 yards. Willis only threw the ball 14 times, only 2 incompletions, ran the ball 6 times for 41 yards. That was a really good game plan. I do blame the Colts a little bit for not like stacking 9, 10, 11 guys in the box and daring Malik to throw it deep or anything like that. But, the Packers had a game plan and it worked and they stuck to it and it got them the win. So good for them, I guess.
Yeah, it was interesting when I found out Love was going to be out and people were kind of like freaking out. Not that I was happy Love was out, but I was interested because my in-laws live in Nashville, so I actually watched like all the snaps that he took on the Titans, and I liked like his potential. He reminded me a lot of Lamar Jackson as far as he's very mobile. He's got a pretty good arm. He never made any really stupid decisions. Like he was always pretty smart with the ball. And his decision making was quick. He didn't panic in the pocket. And the Titans, like, historically recently have been horrible with quarterbacks as far as like making them better.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Tannehill was fine there, but like any young quarterback that they tried to like help, like they couldn't really help them to grow. So LaFleur, I think his system, just like Shanahan's system, it's like it helps quarterbacks to flourish. So the only thing that I was real cautious about is it was 2 weeks after he got there. And it's like, even if you learn the cadences of the call book, you don't have timing of the receivers down. And, it's like, there's a lot of things you just don't have time to figure out. But yeah, I agree. He did what I was hoping he would do. He didn't make any stupid decisions. He stuck to the plays. And I'm totally with you where it's like, I wasn't nervous about him as much as other people, but I'm like, there's no way that you can rely on the run the whole game when the other team knows you're going to run the whole game and win. And it's like they should have been up 17-0. He got the ball stripped, at the 1 foot line when Jacobs is diving in the end zone. And the fact that they did that when, like you said, the Colts know they're going to run the whole game, that was very unexpected. I was shocked that game. I don't remember the last Packer game that they ran as much as they did, and their defense actually stood up and their special teams look solid. It was like, it surprised me. I was not expecting them to. It was kind of a boring game, but they did what they had to do.
That's all that matters. You got to find different ways to win. I think this allows them to let Jordan Love slowly come back, because I think the next game they got is Tennessee, right? And that's a winnable game without bringing Jordan Love back. So I think this was a good win for them. Yeah. Okay, let's go. You ready to move on to the bad?
Yep.
Okay, give me your bad of week 2.
Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.